and welcome to our podcast, The Ups and Downs of a Small Business Owner, where we hope to show you exactly what it's like to grow a business. Today I'm with Harry Alston, investor, recruiter, big in marketing. I'm not going to say kind of marketer. Is that a word? Marketer? Marketeer. Business owner. Is there anything you can't do?
Accountancy.
although you've dabbled.
I have dabbled. I've done a little bit when I've been thrown in at the deep end. I think every business owner needs to have a little bit of awareness of accountancy, but I think we're certainly not the experts.
So how would you describe yourself using them?
Very entrepreneurial, always looking for the next thing, whether that's spotting an opportunity in my business or spotting an opportunity externally. Very passionate. Extremely passionate, sometimes a little bit too passionate, I'd say. I think we mentioned burnout. I think, passion can lead to that if not managed in the right way. And quite intense at times. I'm very on it, very invested in things. I want to get my claws in something. I really want to see it through to completion. So, I think I'm entrepreneurial, passionate, and a tiny bit intense at times. Hopefully on the positive side rather than the negative side.
I guess that explains your kind of recruitment background, because anybody that I spoke to in recruitment it's very sales focused, it's very kind of full on. So you almost have to have the passion, you have to have that drive, you have to have the confidence to do something like that and to actually succeed in it.
Definitely. I think, recruitment's a 24/7 job, like being a business owner is. And I think with recruitment, you kind of manage your own business within a business. Definitely the best recruiters I know do, anyway. But certainly one of those ones that you can't switch off. You come in, you wake up in the morning, you check your emails, you've got someone that's going to be in interview at 9 o'clock with one of your top tier clients, and they've just emailed you to say they've actually changed their mind, they don't want to go in. The client comes in at 9, so you're like, right, okay, how do I deal with this situation? So it's one of those ones that you've always got something going on. I think obviously your podcast is orientated around the highs and lows of being a business owner. You could do a separate podcast on the highs and lows of a recruiter, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty huge in itself. Maybe one day I'll dabble into that. Let's go back to when you started. What was your dream? What did you want to achieve? So you just left school, or even during school. Where did you want to go? Where did you see yourself?
I think for me it was always about kind of managing my own time and doing things my way. I was never kind of under the illusion that I could leave school straight away and go into running a very successful business, because obviously that takes time. But I think there was always an entrepreneurial spark there. I never had the vision of working for someone forever, and always had the vision for kind of creating something myself. And I think coming out of school I went into personal training initially because I didn't really know what to do. I was big into the gym, and I think for me what I've always followed is industries that I take a genuine interest in. I've done the same with study, so love going down the gym, had a real passion for fitness, and I found the gym such a release, not just physically but mentally as well. So naturally went into personal training. Decided that probably wasn't for me long term. Found a fantastic recruitment business. A friend of mine at the time was in recruitment. He was telling me all about this, like making this money and that money. And I thought it was just sitting behind a desk all day chatting to people about jobs they genuinely wanted. Definitely not the case, I can tell you now. A lot of cold calling, a lot of approaching people that literally have no interest in speaking to you whatsoever. A lot of rejection. The first 6 months, especially in recruitment, is very, very tough. But I found very, very good business. Huge recruitment organisation, offered full training and development. Especially in the first 6 months, did I question my decision to leave personal training where the sun was shining and it was the middle of summer and I'd be out in the fields and I was in this office being told to F off all the time, all day, every day. Yeah, but I thought, look, give it 6 months, see where I'm at after 6 months, and kind of see where it takes me. And then from the sort of 6-7 month stage, I was loving it. I was earning a bit of commission, which to me, I'd never really earned commission before. I was like, you come in with the expectation of a basic wage, and then all of a sudden you get an extra 200 a month, an extra 300 a month, and then escalates from there. You think it's fantastic. It's actually worth all of the F-offs. So yeah, did that coming out of school, personal training, then into recruitment, and worked for that business for about 5 years. I progressed to manager. I think I was the youngest manager in the business at the time, and they did me a great service. Always did what they promised. Gained great training development, not only at an early stage but also in a managerial sense. Alongside that, I did sort of my undergraduate with the OU, and then later went on to do a master's, and then kind of found my passion for marketing whilst I was probably, when I was a sales manager in recruitment. So I had a lot of involvement in marketing our service, spotting opportunities within the offering that we had. So we set up EAC, which is my first business, about sort of 5.5, 6 years ago. I had huge involvement in the marketing of that. Obviously did recruitment and did the very hands-on stuff for about 3 years, and then we really started to build and grow a team. So I had more involvement sort of in the operations, more involvement in the marketing. And sort of about 18 months ago, to cut a long story short, which has probably already been a long story, but anyway, we then set up New Gen, as it's known now, previously Generation Z Marketing, because with the recruitment business, we didn't have a huge marketing budget. We weren't a massive multi-million-pound corporation, but what we did very well was social media marketing. We did videography very well, and people always used to compliment us on how good the marketing was. We'd win clients off the marketing, we'd win candidates off the marketing, and people would start recognising us. And people would say they want to join a business based on the marketing. So we thought, well, let's do a quick analysis of sort of local businesses. How well do they market themselves on social media, which is a relatively low value or low cost way of marketing yourself? And the answer was a lot of small businesses, sort of maybe 5 to 50 people, they have very little presence. And what an opportunity, if you could market well for them, they can grow their client base, they can be more visible, they can grow their brand awareness. So that's kind of resulted in my time now growing New Gen, building the team that we've got on New Gen, and really focusing more on the marketing side than on the recruitment side, which I leave to our management team and leave to my co-director. So certainly been an exciting sort of journey over the last 6 months. I mean, that all sounds positive. It hasn't all been positive, trust me.
Yeah, so I'm going to go back to right at the beginning. You mentioned that first 6 months, that constant rejection. How do you pull through that? How do you go home at night being told F off or whatever it is that people are telling you? Does that have an impact on you?
Yeah, I think it does. And you question yourself quite a lot, because you're probably the same setting up a business, because I've gone through that now at least twice. Once when I started in recruitment predominantly, and then once when I started EAC. So you have to keep going through that journey, and you do question yourself. You think, am I good at this? You see other people. When I first got into recruitment, let's start with that, you see other people doing deals, you see other people making 20, 30, 40, 50, 60,000 pounds a month, and you think, wow, these guys are making good money, and I'm getting all of these no's, I'm getting all of these F-offs, I'm getting all of this rejection. Is this actually going to turn into a yes? But I think you'd probably agree with me, David, and I think most business owners would. And this was the same for EAC when we set this up. You need to believe in the longer term vision. You need to stay consistent. And if you believe in that longer term vision, you can get through the no's, you can get through the rejections. You go home sometimes and think, this is a pain in the arse, and I'm getting frustrated and I'm feeling negative with it. Yeah, you do. But I think at the back of your mind, you believe in yourself, you believe in the long term goal. And if you can believe in that long term goal and where you want to be long term, you can get through the here and the now, which might be rejection.
I guess, I completely agree with you. It's almost a matter of time. If you believe in it and you really want it to go somewhere, it's just how long can you stick it out for before you kind of decide, actually, do you know what, enough's enough and I can't carry on.
Well, I think with that first business, when I went into recruitment and I was employed, 6 months was the time frame I put on it, which I thought was a fair time. And by month 3, month 4, things were, I wouldn't say rainbows and unicorns, but things were positive. Deals were being done, revenues were going up, and I could see potential. When I set up EAC, it's a different scenario. I'd already done it once for someone else, so I knew even if it took more than 6 months, that was something I was committed to. I don't know what your sort of situation was when you first set up the business, but for that first year, me and my business partner, we didn't take a wage. And that's quite tough, but we believed in the longer term vision. So you're taking that step back from earning a managerial salary and all of the associated bonuses to starting a business, in a tiny little office where it's just you two sitting together thinking, yeah, I kind of miss having this huge team and being in this massive multi-million-pound corporation, but again, we made that step and we knew it would work long term. So whereas with the first business, yes, 6 months was the time that I gave it. In a second business, EAC, I had complete confidence that whether it was 6 months, 12 months or 18 months, we were going to make it work. It was just making sure the cash didn't run out in that time, which, fortunately it didn't.
So you say you didn't pay yourself for a year. How did you get by? Was that savings that you built up? Was that...
So I actually owned a property that I let out. So I sold that, sort of took the equity in that. Looking at the prices of property have gone up now, I probably could have made about double if I'd held on to it. But, that's the nature of the beast. But yeah, we needed that money I needed that money at the time. Imran, my business partner, he had his own ways, his own savings, his own way of obviously being able to supplement some form of lifestyle. But yeah, for me it was, taking that risk of selling a property, the bricks and the mortar, which long term is always going to make you money, for something that, you feel actually there's excitement and there's opportunity with. So yeah, it was selling a property, and that got me through sort of the first 12 months, and then we started to pay ourselves a small amount like everyone does.
Yeah. It's just, actually how do you cope with that? And that's a huge risk. You've gone from having something that's tangible, something that's always going to be worth a good amount of money, to kind of push that away and go, yeah, the business will work. And actually that's confidence in yourselves and in the business.
Definitely.
I think we had exactly the same thing. We had full confidence. There was no doubt that it was going to work. It was just, we need a bit more time. We just need a bit more money to survive 6 months, 12 months, whatever it is that as you said it. So that's quite an interesting one. So you mentioned you got a business partner.
Yeah. How
important have people been, personally and business, to your journey?
Yeah, massively. I think, I listened to James on your previous podcast, and I think you mentioned to him about him being a sole director, not having a mentor, and that's not the journey that I've had. It's probably the complete opposite, because I've done it with someone, as you have, David, and you have the luxury of bouncing off someone telling you if your ideas are shit, you telling them if their ideas are shit, so I think hugely influential. And then I think as you own a smaller business, and I'd imagine a lot of, small business owners, are probably quite similar. People that own businesses that maybe sort of 25 people and under. Your people are influential as well. You bring on managers, you bring on seniors, you even bring on trainees that can bring fresh ideas, and you have to be agile enough to adapt to their suggestions and to not feel that as a director you know it all. People are hugely influential in shaping the business. Both of my businesses, EAC and NewGen, they haven't solely been shaped by myself and Imran. We've had massive input from our management team, massive input from people that are even trainees within the business as to what we can do better. People, when they're coming from other businesses, you probably know, coming from other accountancy firms, there's ways that other accountancy firms might work better than you. And they might say, David, maybe you should implement this, maybe you should implement that. And it's the same with us on the marketing side and on the recruitment side, to kind of take those suggestions and try and work collaboratively to make our business better. And naturally, the people are integral to that.
I completely, again, I just echo everything you've just said. So what's been your biggest failure?
I think not understanding the finances well enough. And I think if most business owners are honest, that's probably where most of their failures have been. I understand the finances, I think, to a very high degree now for someone that's not an accountant, because you have to. You need to understand where your wastage is, where your return on investment is, where your profitability is. If you're looking at, say, a P&L sheet and you've got multiple different revenue streams on there, you can't, say your business makes £50,000 a month, 45,000 of that might come from a specific revenue stream that you need to invest in more, whereas the other 5,000 is coming from two other revenue streams that could be a waste of time. But you only know if you know the finances intricately, because some business owners, especially new business owners, would look at £50,000 and say, oh, that's fantastic, my business is doing really well. But actually, if you look at where that derives from, then you can focus more on those profitable areas and take the business up to 60, 70,000. And then on the back end, especially in the early stages and through COVID periods, and through tougher economic conditions, it's also watching the losses. It's not just about the profit. because you could be making GP of 50,000, but actually if your losses are at £55,000 a month, you're losing £5,000. So 50,000 GP might sound great, but actually if it's a net loss of 5,000, then not so positive. Definitely not so positive. So I think, again, it's not only understanding where the revenue is coming from and what to focus on and what to invest in, but it's also where to strip costs, where to actually spend money to make money, what's really unnecessary. And I think we've all had kind of things on our P&L that, £100 goes out a month for, this thing that's on your bank statement. You never really look at it. And then when you get to the end of the year and you look at your annual statement, you're like, I've just spent £1,200 on that. What the hell is it? Whereas if you understand your finances slightly more intricately, probably more on a management accounts level, you can strip out those costs. So I think definitely, the biggest failure is not understanding the finances quick enough. I think that's a mistake a lot of business owners make, but I think one of the more recent successes, understanding the finances a lot more.
I mean, the fact that you've just gone into that level of detail and you're not an accountant, that is impressive, because most business owners that I've spoken to and I hear about, they're looking at the bank. Is there cash in the bank? Yes, we're doing fine. And actually, as you know, that means absolutely nothing. If you're making a loss each month, that cash will dry up. But you can forecast that cash drying up as long as you know your numbers.
Definitely.
So the fact that you're already looking at that sort of stuff from that point of view, I'd say that's a huge win, and that's only going to take you a lot further.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Well, yeah, but you're looking at that, and you're trying to predict, and you're trying to forecast, and you're trying to understand what the future looks like, not just what the past looks like.
Yeah, definitely. And I did an MBA, and that taught me a lot about finance, taught me a lot about marketing. They were kind of the two angles that the MBA was orientated around, the finance aspect and the marketing aspect. But looking at the finance aspect, there was a really, interesting kind of thing in there that was like, right, okay, if every business did the same as it does now without evolving, would it still be a successful business in 10, 20 years' time? And they used the example of, right, if you looked at every business in the FTSE 100, if that business didn't evolve in 10 years' time, would that business still be in the FTSE 100? And the answer is no. And that teaches you quite a lot about sort of finance, cash burn rates, where you're wasting money, where you need to invest more money, but also teaches you a lot about marketing. How can I spot opportunities? How can I evolve? How can I be better? And I think a lot of looking at those two aspects of finance and marketing was certainly somewhere, and the evolvement of businesses was certainly somewhere that we decided to found NewGen, because we thought this is new, this is up and coming. We can help businesses get to that next level, and take themselves from point A to point B and move into the digitized world, which if you're looking at your bottom line's only going to deplete if you're not constantly evolving. So I think that focus on the MBA and, thinking about those companies in the FTSE and how they'd evolve is both a financial thing and a marketing thing, and was certainly a key driver, for the founding of NewGen.
Yeah, I'd literally just echo that. And talking about businesses evolving, and again, marketing, something I was talking to somebody about yesterday was, what did Tesla do? So most people turn around and say Tesla build cars, but they don't. They build batteries. The fact that they do cars is their gateway into selling their batteries.
Yeah.
But actually what they do is they build the batteries and they put it in a pretty good car and they market it very well. So from that aspect, they've adapted because they couldn't get their batteries into current cars, so they decided they'd evolve and they'd do it themselves. That just kind of shows the evolution of certain businesses and how they do it.
Definitely, and it's even like businesses like Rolls-Royce. People don't realise that they actually do sort of the engines and stuff for planes.
Yeah.
So they do a lot in aerospace, but and again, that derives back from, okay, where are your revenues coming from? Now, everyone would think Tesla's revenue or Rolls-Royce's revenue are coming from the cars. But actually, you've got multiple streams where they're tapping into other sectors. And I think that's a key thing, for me that I've learned in business is, it's not just going back to, it's not just, right, okay, we've made £50,000 a month, that's wonderful. It's actually looking at, okay, where's the wastage been? What revenue has allowed us to create that £50,000 a month, and what do we need to invest in further?
Yeah, I'm going to take it back again.
Yeah.
So, how old were you when you started EAC?
24. 5 when we set up the company, but then we started a few months later, so 26 in essence.
How did you feel talking to people, pitching to people, being 26 and trying to portray, you were a business owner, but trying to say that and trying to kind of put that across, did people ever kind of think you're a bit young and stuff like that?
Probably, but they never said it to me.
No?
I probably thought he was an idiot. But I was 23 when I was a manager, and I managed a team of 32 people. And some of those people were, 35, 40, 45 years old, a lot more senior than me, and they probably thought, why am I being managed by this guy? But then I think you only get to that stage if you've got the credibility, you've got the ground, and you've got the foundational knowledge to actually, after a while, after a couple of weeks of working with them or whatever, they see the value that you can actually add to them. So it's like, well, why work against him, based on purely an age metric, when I could actually work with him and this would benefit my career, or as a business owner pitching to someone who's probably a lot older than me and a lot more experienced. Actually, he could get me the stuff that I want. He could add the value to my business. I think James mentioned a lot, whereas with recruiters, they get a bad reputation because, they just try and put a square peg in a round hole because it's based on commission and this, that and the other. Whereas what we were trying to sell was more of a consultative solution. Like, it's not about burning clients, it's not about burning candidates, it's about actually understanding the needs and the wants of the candidate, understanding the needs and the wants of the client, and actually matching them perfectly together. And that's the way that I always pitched. Now, I wasn't a cold, hard Wolf of Wall Street seller. Loved the film, but I certainly wouldn't sell like that. It's a relationship-based sell. And I think people started to understand as I spent more time with them, and they gave me a shot, that actually, age is kind of irrelevant. Definitely when I first walked in the room, maybe. But I think as you start working with someone, I'd work with people that are 18, 19, whatever age. I'd work with people that are 60, 70. It's about what value can they add. And I think people are starting to understand that a little bit more now. And I think when they start working with you and you become credible quickly, that becomes something that's almost irrelevant.
Right. So the reason I highlight that is because I had this one particular experience where somebody almost said, "Oh, that's cute, you started a business at 25.
Right. But that wasn't patronising at all.
Exactly. It was almost like, I remember when I did that at 25, okay, well, that's great. But that really kind of stuck with me. That's why I kind of highlighted it. Has anybody else experienced that, or is it just...
But does it motivate you, David, to be even better? Any time I have sort of a situation like that, someone's dismissive or they don't like what we're offering and this, that and the other, and it's like, well, yeah, that's fair enough, no problem at all. But actually I use that as a motivational tool to say, well, as we sort of head to the moon in terms of the way the business grows, you'll look back and see, do you know what, maybe that's an opportunity that I missed.
Absolutely. Now, yes. But at the time, I was quite a shy person. I didn't have a huge amount of confidence. To have somebody say that almost kind of really knocked me down, and was like, I really struggled with feedback as well. So if somebody gave me feedback, I would almost kind of get upset. What have I done wrong? How have I done that? Whereas, and again, it comes back to that time you had in recruitment actually probably thickened your skin. Actually getting rejection, getting that negative feedback, you got used to that. Suddenly then, once you've come out of that, I guess you've already got that thick skin. It doesn't hit hard.
Yeah, thicker. I think and I think that's a really good point that you've raised, because I think when it's your business, you're so passionate about it and you love it, and it's the best thing since sliced bread, which, to be honest, to most people is probably not. And when someone tells you that, you do take it quite personally. So I think however much rejection you get as a recruiter doing your day-to-day job, or even as a marketeer, or even as an accountant, because everyone gets rejection, when it's your business, there is an element of you taking it personally. And I'd love to say that everything just goes over my head, but sometimes you're taking it home with you and you do think, well, why don't they like it? They should like it. This is brilliant. And you get quite defensive because you're like, no, you need to understand. It could do this for you or that for you. But I think, it's difficult when it's yours, but at the end of the day, you need to move onwards and upwards, don't you? And like I say, I try and use that now as a catalyst to be better. But also, if there's valuable feedback in there, maybe it's a way that you could better your business or shape your business. And I've had feedback over the years from potential clients and so on, And, whereas the initial knee-jerk reaction is, no, you should use me, I'm better than everyone else. Actually, when you sit down and walk away from that situation, you think, yeah, maybe we could actually improve this service.
Actually, that feedback is much better than somebody saying, yeah, it's brilliant. Because it's brilliant, it's great, it feeds your ego, but it doesn't give you anything to improve on, it doesn't give you anything to change.
Definitely. And I think that's part of the transition as a business owner, isn't it? To understanding, maybe when you're in your first year or your second year, you want to stick up for everything and you think everything you've done is right, but you get to the fourth, fifth year and you think, you know what, yeah, okay, they're right, maybe, we can evolve it off the back. And you probably, over the years, start to take things less personally and start to use obstacles as catalysts.
Yeah. And utilise it to go forward, to evolve, to improve.
Definitely.
So, what's the one thing your business did that you didn't expect it to do?
I think I mentioned to you off air, obviously we had the COVID situation and we actually had our accountant, I think, either went into liquidation or administration at the time. So not only did you have COVID to deal with, which everyone had to deal with, and people dealt with that in their own way, but we also lost our accountant. And I think that was a big sort of learning point for me when you say, okay, you understand finances to a certain degree. I kind of had to learn not only accountancy, but all of this furlough business and, all of okay, what does this mean? How does that work? 80%, 90%, 100%, the government will pay some, you have to pay the rest. So you're not only learning how to pay your staff and do payroll, which you've always had that blanket, but you're also understanding how to do a return to the government, how to put through furlough claims, how to kind of deduct taxes and stuff. And yeah, that was definitely something that I didn't expect. That was a massive curveball, because not only have you now got COVID and you're like, right, okay, we need to deal with this situation, you then call your accountant, they're in administration liquidation, didn't even pick up the call, didn't email back. So we're like, right, okay, I think we saw it on the Gazette or something in the end, the final Gazette.
Wow.
So we were like, and then it took our new accountant probably about a month to get up to speed. And they were brilliant at the time, they really were. But yeah, I mean, in that month period, they don't know anything about your business and you're kind of running it yourself. So you've got COVID to deal with, and then you've got the happiness of your staff and still making sure they understand that you're still going to get paid and this is going to happen, that's going to happen. And then you've got the finance. So yeah, I think definitely something that was unexpected, then something more unexpected on top of that.
And I mean, that's an achievement in itself. You literally got thrown in the deep end during a storm.
Yeah.
It's the only way you could describe that.
Definitely.
So who's been your most important mentor?
I think that's a good question. I don't necessarily think there's sort of one single person. I think for me, what I try and do is everyone that I meet that's, in a senior position or even in a junior position where there's sort of something I can learn from them, where there's a way that I can evolve as an individual and evolve the business, I try and learn as much as possible. So we'll, go and speak to clients maybe on the marketing side, and that will have very successful businesses, and you understand, okay, some of the things that have made them successful. You'll also speak to people in everyday life that have achieved something extremely well. Like my dad, for example, played for England under-21s rugby. He was captain of Northampton Saints. He was captain of Bedford Blues for a long time. So he had that resilience, that tenacity. He had that sort of get up and go. Constantly being knocked back by rugby. But again, it teaches you that social aspect where, those guys, they're always going out for a beer, they're always having fun, they're always mates with each other, and that's so important. My business partner, Imran, he was actually my manager in our last business for a long time, and I was his co-manager. Learned a massive amount from him in the sense of certainly, things like understanding analytics more, understanding data more. So I think there's always people to learn from. We go into our accountants, for example, and rather than me just tell directive, right, we need this, we need that, it's actually listening to the points that they've got on our business. So I think for me, there's no sort of one individual person. It's a culmination of various different people that you meet through life. I mean, let's be honest, some people chat absolute bollocks, so you don't listen to them quite so much. But then there's other people that have some real great insight, and some real sort of takeaway points that can make you better as a person, make you better as a business professional, and make your business better. So it's taking those little snippets, and bettering yourself from them.
So there's no kind of standout
No
individuals.
standout, really. Yeah.
Right.
I don't want to list off like about 10, 20 people, but
No.
a culmination of people, definitely.
If you could go back to the beginning, so I guess this is when you're at the recruitment company, and do it all again.
Do you mean employed or when
Employed.
I say PAC?
So you're employed.
Okay, yeah,
so this is
yeah.
before you start a business.
Yeah,
Would you do it again?
100%.
You wouldn't even think twice.
No, I wouldn't think twice.
Even with the stresses and everything that came with
No,
it.
wouldn't think twice. Wouldn't think. And the stresses as a business owner, as you know, David, are far superior to the stresses of someone that's employed. But I think the highs are a lot higher as well. And I think for me, it's just the freedom and the control. And obviously you can get that in a high-ranking employed position, don't get me wrong. But, I like to have that control over things and to look at the strategic direction of things. And that doesn't mean I always take the right direction, but at least it's my direction and I can stand behind it.
But it's what you believe is
Definitely.
what you want to achieve. Whereas I think when you get to a high employed role, they almost want blood. If they want you to work evenings, weekends, late night, you kind of don't have a choice. You do to a degree, but equally...
Absolutely, and that's the thing that we wanted to create for our guys, was the opportunity that, if they can help us steer the business in the right direction, there's no reason why they can't actually be directors, why they can't be shareholders within the business and have a piece of the pie. So it's, taking people from, I'd be really disappointed if someone left my business to set up their own business, because it's like, well, if you do this well enough for us and we work collaboratively, you could have a bit of this business. I'm not selfish over the shareholder that I've got in the business. Some business owners are, some aren't. But for me, I'd rather make sort of 25% of say £10 million than make 50% of £500,000.
Exactly.
And that just makes sense to me.
Yeah, I'd completely agree with you, and I think it's quite a traditional thing to be almost a dictatorship, and it's I'm at the top, I tell you how it all works, and that's why people do go off and set up. So when is the happiest time of your life?
Happiest time?
And that's genuine happy, like happy.
I think for us, like for me, work-wise, it's definitely when we bring on a new client, that I get a real buzz, a real thrill from that. I find that really exciting. But then on the flip side of that, it's also when we're doing a great job for a client and we're seeing that client move to the next level, especially now moving into sort of more the marketing business and the recruitment business. You build such a strong relationship with your clients. You go on such a journey with them. You are their marketing function in essence. So when all of a sudden, their reach is improving astronomically, when their brand visibility is out there, when people are calling them and saying, "Oh, I've seen your stuff, your marketing stuff on socials, I've seen that recent video that you did," and they give us that feedback, that's certainly when I feel the most positive. So you've kind of got two aspects there. The first one's winning a new client. As a natural salesperson, as someone working in recruitment, you get a buzz for that. And then the second bit is, when we do a great job for the client. Because it's not just, what it's like as a business owner, it's not just about you. It's not just about your business. If it was just about you, you would retain a client for 3 to 6 months. And then they would go and work with someone else. When it's actually about them, not only do you get better results, but you have that client over multiple years.
So I kind of agree. Actually, that you can't get that buzz from making that sale anywhere else. Like being a business owner and making that sale, that is incredible. But I'm thinking more of kind of drilling down on happy. You personally, when have you felt really happy about everything? Kind of work, life, personal, business. When's been that moment that you've been really proud and happy almost in yourself? Because we can sit here and say, actually that moment made me happy, but actually I think blokes are definitely the worst at doing that and opening up and being honest about, do you know what, actually things are shit at the moment and I'm struggling. But equally, we're not very good at going, we're very good at just kind of coasting and saying, yeah, it's all good, but never some kind of, actually, do you know what, we're in a good place here.
So I think probably two periods. So the first one would be as we came out of the pandemic and we set up Gen Z at the time, which is obviously new gen, because the recruitment business was thriving. It was really exciting time because, you know, people wanted to get back in employment. Kind of the economy boomed and really spiked straight after the pandemic as everything kind of came out of lockdown. Businesses were hiring, so that was great. So you've got kind of because look, you can be happy with personal things, but if you've got financial stress on your head, as you know, like it can detriment other things. And then you've got, so that was a time, so we just set up the new business, Gen Z marketing. The recruitment business was thriving, so it could supplement the losses that you're going to take on the Gen Z side of things. So that was the first time, and that was probably around sort of like, probably the middle of sort of 2021. To the end of 2021, you know, things were really exciting then. And then I think now as well, you know, we've got 2 established businesses that have got great client list. You know, personally, I'm really happy in my life, you know, and I'm at a good position. You know, we always want more. I always want more, you know, so I get frustrated with things still, but you know, I'm in a happy place at the moment. You know, both businesses are working successfully. You know, we've got people that want to be there and they want to be on that journey, and I think that's massively important. Taking it back to your people aspect, you know, because as a business owner, some business owners do it all on their own, but you're going to be working forever if that's the case. You know, you need people that want to go on that journey, and with both of our businesses now, we've got people that want to go on that journey. So I think, yeah, sort of middle of the pandemic and then now are certainly my happiest periods. But they're also probably coming out of tougher periods. And I think you feel happier as a human, whether you know it or not, or whether it's subconscious or not, when you've gone through a really tough period. Maybe you've struggled with burnout, as we mentioned earlier, or you've struggled with the unknown, such as COVID, and then something really positive happens. You probably wouldn't think that's as positive if you hadn't have gone through the tougher times.
Exactly that. It's almost, yeah, you've had them downs, and then them highs just hit harder and higher, which is incredible. So I'm going to dive into that burnout one a little bit more. So you mentioned that you had burnout recently. How did you spot that, or did you spot that, or did somebody else tell you?
No, I think for me, I was getting more frustrated with things than I'd usually get. I think it was definitely towards the back end of last year, so I think it's quite recent, and I decided to make a change this year, but I'll go into that in a second. But you know, I was coming home, I was frustrated. You know, I was micromanaging a lot of aspects of the business. I always felt I had to be there. I was taking work home with me all the time. But I think the key thing of understanding that was just kind of how agitated I was getting by small things, how frustrated I was getting. And things weren't bad, but you know, it's like everything, I didn't feel that the reward was coming off the back of the work that I was putting in. And I was kind of digging myself deeper and deeper in the hole by working more and more, you know, and got to the stage where I think over Christmas I just needed a couple of weeks off. Had a couple of weeks off, came back with a completely new mindset in January. Did dry Jan, which, I don't know if anyone listened to this or you've done it, but you just think so much clearer. So I'd had 2 weeks off to rest, to spend with family, to spend with friends. I did dry Jan, which gave me a really clear mind, and came back in with such a renewed vigour and renewed attitude in January. And the commitment that I made to myself in January was to make sure that every few months you take sort of a week off or a few days off, even if you feel the business needs you at that stage. Yes, if you need to do a couple of things remotely, do it, but make sure you take that time for yourself, because actually if you've got problems in that moment, they're not going to get worse, and you're going to actually be able to, with a clear head, tackle those problems. And that was a commitment that I made to myself in January, and I think we said off air, that's not me being selfish with my time, you know, and at the business's cost. That's actually me, you know, doing something that's going to allow me to feel clearer headed, in a better position to make better decisions for the business, to actually take the business to the next level. So actually spending more time outside the business will give me more time to make the business better. If that answers your question.
Yeah. You said you were getting frustrated, you were taking work home, you were doing all this stuff. Did that impact your partner at all?
I mean, my partner's pregnant,
Okay.
at the moment, and was pregnant then.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's going to be our first, so exciting times.
I was going to say good luck, I've just had one.
Oh, have you? Was that your first as well?
It was.
So I don't think massively. I think, she's a great support network, and kind of understood and understands, and she works in quite a high pressurised job. She's always worked in sales as well. So she understood, and she was a really good support network for that. But I think naturally, I think when you're agitated, when you're frustrated with things, and you're working too hard and you're burning yourself out, I think it impacts you, and it's probably impacting them as well, even if they don't say it. And I think when you take that moment to step back, relax a little bit, take a bit more time for yourself, take a bit more time for your family, but also use that as a catalyst to actually make things better business-wise, you're just so much happier in yourself. And that's the decision that I've made in January, was just don't get so bogged down in work. And if this doesn't come off and that doesn't come off, then don't get frustrated with things. Nothing in life goes up in a straight line. You look at the stock chart, you look at Tesla's stock chart, great example. Tesla's stock was very low for a long time. Then it shot up, then it came back down, then it shot up again. I think, Musk himself, I don't know how much he lost the other day, but I think he lost something like, was it 260 billion or something like that of his wealth, sort of within a couple of week time span.
He lost the most that anybody has ever lost, but still was the second richest man in the world.
Which is insane. But in that moment, did he zoom out and think, well, I'm still the second richest man in the world, so what do I have to worry about? Or did he think, I don't want to be losing that money? It's the way you frame things, and I don't know how he looked at that. But for me, it's just framing things differently now. And every obstacle this year, I want to see as an opportunity to grow and to be better and make the business better. So to use that obstacle and actually make it an opportunity. So I think, did it impact my partner? Yes, I think so. She didn't say it did, and she was massively supportive. But I think, naturally it puts a little bit more strain on the happiness of your relationship.
It takes a hit at home. And again, I think you might be completely different. We're not very good at opening up and talking about that or mentioning it. It's very much something that you keep very quiet and just deal with yourself. But there's plenty of people out there that want to help and that will help, like your partner, like your family, like anyone that's close, a business partner. So it sounds like you've got a great network around you that are always there as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So, I'm going to go to Gen Z then. Interestingly, you rebranded from Generation Z to New Gen Media.
Yeah.
Why?
I think, so if I look at the technicals, from an SEO perspective, when you type in Gen Z to a search engine, it comes up with loads of information on the age group, Generation Z, rather than the actual business. So that was one reason, but also the next stage of evolution for the business. We focus quite heavily on sort of video content now, bite-sized, digestible videography, which is obviously very media-based. Social media is very media-based. So it gives probably, that branding gives a better overview of what we do. Social media marketing, social media management, videography and imagery. It's more of a media solution than solely just sort of a pigeonholed marketing solution.
And then I guess changing all of that brand that you've built up, it obviously comes with excitement and that side of it, but equally what you've built it up to and that original brand, is there something that kind of is a bit sad about losing it?
No, next stage of evolution, I think, for me. No, not at all. Again, we've rebranded EAC. We never changed the name of EAC, but, going back to that FTSE 100 thing, some businesses evolve or need to take their next step in evolvement quicker than others. And I think we were at the stage when we rebranded EAC and gave it a new website and gave it a new logo and so on, that the old brand had got a little bit stale. And I think with Generation Z marketing, the old website didn't serve a purpose anymore. It wasn't user-friendly enough. It didn't probably demonstrate who we were. The kind of logo needed a bit of a rejig. And I think the name needed a little bit of a rejig. And I think for us, it's, I don't know if you've ever gone through it, David, but you draw a line in the sand where once that new brand is launched, there's a new excitement about the business. And we did that happened about a month ago. And we're living off that buzz at the moment. The new website's driving traffic, it's driving potential clients. We've just taken on a business development manager to build new relationships. People are complimenting the new brand, and I think now when we have a client engaged and they say, right, okay, I'm chatting to Harry and I'm chatting to one of the guys and so on, let's check their website, let's check their branding. They're like, the website's very good, the branding's very good, because we're no longer using a startup website. We did everything like you do, even though we had the established business of EAC, and obviously that financed the start of the journey. You still do things on a smaller budget, because ultimately, you're going to have a lot of costs, in terms of hiring staff, in terms of new resources, in terms of processes, in terms of building infrastructure. So you don't want to go all in on buying a really fancy website and spending loads of money on branding. But we're kind of at the stage now, which is good, that a lot of the branding, all of the marketing, we've done ourselves. Right. Whereas when obviously we initially set up, we were still putting those people in place. So we outsourced that. Whereas now we've pretty much done everything ourselves.
So did you do your own brand?
So we did our own brand, yeah. We used another business who we worked very closely with on the web development. So we did the design for the website, and they also did the logo. So they did the graphic design for the logo, and they did the web development. A business called Red Giraffe, who are in Kings. Yeah. We work closely with them because they will refer us social media marketing clients, and we'll refer them SEO clients, because SEO is something we don't offer, social media marketing is something they don't offer. So again, we've referred them clients in the past, they've referred us clients, so they were the perfect guys to develop the website for us. But in terms of the actual blueprint for the website, we created that. In terms of all of the marketing, we created that. In terms of all of the banners, we created that. The two things we didn't do were the specific logo itself, because we wanted outside input and someone to look at the business. And I think what they've created is, I love the logo. Some people might not, but I love it.
I think it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I love the logo. So I think they've done a great job on that, and the web development's fantastic as well. So we pretty much did everything other than those two things, which it made sense for us to outsource, and I think they've done a fantastic job with that.
So yeah, I agree. The website looks very nice. It does stand out. The logo, again, I like it. It's something I'm big on is branding.
Yeah,
I'm sure you're aware of being here.
Love the logo.
Exactly.
Fantastic.
So, what would you like to leave behind as your business legacy?
I think for me, the goal has always been to build a business that people say that's your business. New Gen Media, EAC Consulting Group, people to actually say, you built that business, that's yours.
That's Harry.
Be shocked, because it's grown to such a level, and it's such a strong business in terms of its branding, in terms of its presence, in terms of people's awareness of it. So that's my goal. My goal is to look back and say, I created those two things, and people to be impressed with that. To build a business that actually excites people, to build a business that people knock on the door of Google. Everyone wants to work for Google. To locally, everyone want to work for New Gen Media. Everyone to want to work for EAC Consulting Group. And I think that's where a key driver of the marketing comes in, because marketing is your way of obviously marketing that. It's your way of getting that name out there. It's your way of building brand awareness, and that's why we've always had such a key focus on marketing, on branding, because if you're doing that, then people are recognising you. Yourself, David, for example, I didn't know who Utopia were until I saw all of your personal branding. And that goes to show how effective marketing is, because until you started doing a podcast, until you started being a lot more active on LinkedIn, until we connected, I didn't know who Utopia were.
No.
And now I know who Utopia are because of the marketing, whether that be personal branding or whether that be organisational branding. Yeah, so my goal, definitely what I want to leave behind, is people being impressed by, wow, you founded that business. That's a fantastic business, and that's a business that I hear a lot of positive things about. And people want to work for.
So there's two elements to that then. So one is the branding actually, and it's not just marketing to customers. That's marketing then to other employees, that's marketing to other brands, that's marketing to just about everybody in Milton Keynes to want that. So something I was really fortunate about, we recently did a job post. We looking for new staff. We did a post, and somebody that we interviewed said that their whole office, being quite a big accountancy firm, they've got 50 plus staff, they said their whole office were talking about it.
Really?
And that hit home, like, wow, actually some people have talked about us, and that's it. So then my question to you then is actually then, what was my question? I've lost it now.
I'm sure it'll come back.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, for me, it is about that awareness of the business. You know, I think any business that isn't going to market themselves appropriately now, over the next few years, is going to get left behind, especially in the digital age. You know, people are relatively lazy. They kind of want everything at their fingertips, and if you're in front of them all the time, you're going to be the one they buy off. And that's kind of our goal, but not only the goal from a customer and a client perspective, also from a brand perspective when we're trying to attract people. Like you say, how good does that feel as a business owner when you've got a 50-person accountancy practice talking about your job? And I knew you were hiring as well because I saw the marketing, you know?
Exactly. So yeah, that was it. It was, how do you think people are impressed with you now?
Yeah, I think people, it's tough to say because obviously people say it to your face, but you never really know. I think what we've created, EAC, I mean, in my opinion, I think EAC is the go-to recruiter within Milton Keynes now as a independent recruiter. You've got your Reeds, you've got your Indeeds, you've got your Michael Pages that are much bigger than us. However, I think as an independent recruiter, when you're looking to work with an independent, we are the go-to. And it's now taking that to the level where we're the outright go-to. We're the only. We have monopoly. Why would anyone go anywhere else? Yeah, we might be a bit more expensive, but pay cheap, pay twice. You know, at the end of the day, we might be a bit more expensive, but I want the best staff I can possibly get.
And you pay for quality.
Exactly.
You're not, if you want cheap, there's plenty of other people, but if you want something that's good, that works, that does everything you need it to do, you pay for that.
Definitely. You know, and I'm sure with you, like, I don't know how much your accountancy packages are exactly, David, but when it comes to you, but sometimes that's the selling point in itself. Do you know what I mean? If you can't afford me, then don't use me.
The interesting thing is we have it from both ways. We have some people come to us and say, oh, you know, I just want my tax return done for £100. That's absolutely fine. There's other accountants that can do that. Then when we've gone to other companies, we've said, you know, we can do everything for £1,000 a month. And people have gone, for that little, because you're replacing a full finance department, I don't believe you can do it for that little money. And we've proved them wrong, but it's that whole...
And that's the thing, you know, So moving on to New Gen very quickly, so that's where I want EAC to be.
Yeah.
But again, you know, are people impressed with New Gen? I think, yes, because we do something niche, we do something innovative. There's a lot of social media marketers out there, but not many in Milton Keynes, and not many that do it well. What we offer is very similar to you. We're replacing a whole marketing team with our marketing team for a cost ranging from maybe £450 a month to £1,400 a month. You know, with the majority of our clients probably being sort of in that mid-range of maybe £600, £800, £1,000 a month, where if you're replacing just one marketing person that's on, say 25k, plus tax, insurance, pensions, you're looking at probably costing somewhere in the £30,000 mark, whereas we give you no employment liability, like you're the same, you know, as a service-orientated business, no employment liability for the cost of £10,000 to £12,000 a month. Like, to me, for certain businesses, if you get your clients right, that's a complete no-brainer. Other businesses, you know, if you're talking these huge businesses, now Argos, Deloitte, why would they use you? Well, Deloitte wouldn't, because obviously they're an accountancy firm. But you know, why would they use you? Because they've got enough money, they keep everything in-house, they keep everything controlled by themselves. However, if you get your target audience right, you know, ours is probably somewhere between 5 to 50 people on the New Gen side. It's a perfect business for us because there's no red tape, there's no bureaucracy, there's no multiple decision makers. Do we deal with bigger businesses? Yes. However, they're the perfect kind of businesses that they could probably either use us or get an in-house team because they've got the headcount and probably the revenue. And you're probably quite similar in terms of size of business, but they can afford it as well. And like you say with £1,000, how nice is it when a client's, you say to a client, right, it's 800 quid, and they're like, wow, that's good. Whereas then you've got other clients that are probably outside of your target audience that they're saying, wow, that's far too much. I was looking £200 a month. Yeah. And you're like, well, we're probably not the right business for you then.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, I wouldn't be myself if I didn't close this with AI.
Yeah.
Marketing, I guess, is probably having the biggest impact or view on it. So obviously there is ChatGPT, there is hundreds of different AI softwares out there now that are doing a lot of marketing. And what's your view on that?
It's funny because I actually did my dissertation on AI within branding. That was my dissertation for my master's, and I did a lot of research. It was a 12,000 word dissertation, which would probably bore the life out of you, David. I'm not going to lie.
I'd struggle with the first 100 words.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, so I did that, and I don't think anything's changed. For me, AI is a hugely influential tool, and you could either work against it or disagree with it, okay? And it will cost you time, it will cost you money, or you could work with it and use it to your advantage. For me, I would always use it to my advantage. I don't think at this stage we're anywhere near a world where AI would replace marketeers, it would replace recruiters, it would replace accountants. I think all of those sectors can use it to their advantage, and I think they will be doing a lot more manual stuff that will take a lot longer, that will cost a lot more if they don't use it to their advantage. But for me, it is a lever to make you more successful as a business. So I'm a big fan of AI. Yeah. Now, I was always quite old school when I was younger. I think it's, the way that kind of my dad brought me up, the kind of the old school business person, that doesn't really use tech and this, that and the other. But I think, as the years have gone on, especially with the founding of EAC, the founding of New Gen, and probably you with the founding of Utopia, you think, right, there's an opportunity actually for us to become a better business and to offer more to clients if we work in synergy with new tech, if we work in synergy with AI, and we work in synergy with the way the contemporary world is moving. I mean, at the end of the day, we're in the fourth industrial revolution, right? That's the tech revolution. So you could work against it and be in older revolutions, and work harder, or you could work with it and use it to your advantage. And that's my belief.
So you're not nervous or you're not worried about it replacing anything? Or...
No, I'm excited, if anything.
Good.
And I think with certain industries, I look at an industry like a state agency, and the way the searches are done. When you buy a house, you should be really excited at the end of that process that you're moving into your new house, and that's brilliant. But actually, you're just relieved. And it's true, isn't it? You're just relieved that all of the paperwork's done, all the searches are done, everything's come back. Every solicitor, every conveyancer, every estate agent, every seller, every buyer, there's always issues, there's problems, nothing's a seamless process, and it takes so long. I think industries like that, an element of disruption is definitely needed to move the industry forward. And estate agents do a great job, conveyancers do a great job, but the way that the property world works, to me, is just archaic, and it hasn't moved forward in 20, 30 years. And I think there's elements of recruitment, elements of marketing, elements of finance that could also do with that same disruption.
I would say there's a lot of professional services that are too time heavy, too slow, and as you say, when it comes to getting property, that's 6 months of torture, going backwards and forwards, chasing people for a document that we can do quicker. There are ways of doing it quicker. AI can do it better than us.
Definitely.
So my view, and we built this solely on AI, I am heavily involved with it all. I think I've got a list of 18 new AI that I'm looking at this week.
So how do you integrate that quickly into your business?
How do I integrate it?
Me interviewing you now, David.
Yeah, I like it.
So talk to me about kind of the AI that you use and how you use that to your advantage.
So I'm very fortunate that I get to talk to 60 different business owners on a monthly basis.
Yeah.
So if ever any of them hear about it, I'm talking to them about it.
Yeah.
So suddenly I've got 60 eyes and ears looking as well. Then I've got softwares that I talk to, clients that I talk to, other people in the industry. So I work very closely with, I would argue, sort of 10, 20 of the top accountants, or the most digitally advanced accountants in the country.
Yeah.
And they're part of like an early adopters hub. So we are literally talking directly to fintech that is just starting out.
Yeah.
So pulling it into the business is actually, does it benefit me? Does it save me time? Yes or no? Does it save the team time? Yes or no? And does it save client time? So even then I'm looking at, okay, that doesn't work for us, but we've got clients over here that could use, for example, there's something I push out as a Stream Deck. A lot of people, if I said to you, actually get a Stream Deck for your business, okay, well, how would that work? What would that do? But when you've got a set of buttons that could automate, I don't know, a horribly boring task that you do on a daily basis, and then your whole team are doing that, we've put that into manufacturing businesses, we've put it into retail companies that are now have Stream Decks for their whole team, which is incredible.
Yeah.
But it's making sure that we don't overlap on current softwares, and making sure there's a need for it. Is it fixing a problem? And it's going back to that problem all the time, because we're very good at just putting in tech for no reason. But what we're not very good at, not necessarily utopia, but humans, we're not very good at what is the problem? What is the process that we're actually fixing? Because sometimes we'll just put in tech and actually we've not even fixed the problem. We've just put in a new bit of tech for the sake of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and I suppose in the modern age, people love that, and it sounds great, and it's brilliant to market, and this is so exciting that we're doing this. But actually, is that even solving a problem?
Exactly.
Or are you just jumping on a bandwagon that you're excited about, with it adding no value whatsoever, and actually just overcomplicating things? And I think I think what you said is great there, because it is about everything in business. For me, is about adding value, and if it doesn't actually add value, don't get so caught up in its hype.
Yeah. So I use a lot, I look at a lot, I trial a lot. Essentially that's what I do a lot here. Is I sign up for trial accounts for almost everything, give it a couple of days, see what I think. Does that help me? If it does, then I'll roll out to the team, see what they think. Does that help the team? And then I start kind of talking to clients about it and getting quite excited about it.
Yeah, I love it.
So last question then. Is there anything you thought I was going to ask you
that you haven't asked?
That I haven't asked.
Let me have a little think. Do you know what? I listened to this question when you asked it on the last one, and I thought, I've got a really good answer for that, but my mind's gone blank. Not really. I think we've covered the majority, in the sense of my journey within a business, the highs and the lows. I suppose one thing is, no, we've covered that. We've covered a lot, to be fair. Yeah, my mind's gone blank on that one. I think I like to have a sharp answer for everything, but yeah, I think you've outdone me there, David. So.
We've dug a lot. So thank you for coming on. It's been very interesting. It's great to learn a bit more about you, learn a bit more about Generation Z changing to new gen media and EAC, which I was probably less aware of. I was aware of it, but I see you a lot with new gen media, and essentially that's what I see a lot, and what I like and I understand more. So thank you.
More than welcome.
If you've enjoyed listening to our podcast, please like and follow, and make sure to tag us on social media.